Hey, how are you? I am Chris Robin, aka at Detroit Beastie, here with Fantasy Six Pack to talk about Thursday night football. And boy, oh boy, do we have a great game on hand. A battle of the NFC West. The San Francisco 49ers go a little bit north to battle the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. This one kicks off at around 8:15 p.m. As it stands, the over-under is right at about 49 points. I could see a case where it gets to around 50. Any way we slice it, I'm taking the over in this one, and I will tell you why. Before I get into all that, make sure you get to the website at fantasy6pack.net. When you know the bells and whistles, we've done, as I said last time, we've done this dance numerous times before. A lot of it is free, like the Discord, but there are some premium options, premium channels if you want in on the Fantasy Six Pack family. Once you do get there, tag me in the Discord. That's where I am all the time. That's where actually all the action is. All right, let's talk about this football game. As I said, San Francisco goes to Seattle to battle the Seahawks. As it stands right now, over-under is around 49 total points. When we look at the NFC West right now, it goes Seattle, Arizona, San Francisco, and the Rams. Granted, we're 5 games into the season. This kicks off, Thursday night kicks off week 6, but Seattle's leading the division at 3-2. Arizona's 2-3. San Francisco is 2-3, but they have a plus point differential of 20, while the Rams are 1-4 and they're minus 45 in terms of point differential. And Seattle, right now, they are 3-2, as I said, and they're plus 8 in terms of the point differential here. Just a little, new little tidbit I figured I'd add because it's a divisional game. Everything from start to finish here has all the makings of an outstanding game. Just lots of points, lots of yardage, down to the wire. I think the game is separated by 4 points, maybe a missed extra point, and then a field goal could come down to it. But that was going to be 1 point that really bothers one of the teams here at the end. Let's start with the quarterback, shall we? When you look at Brock Purdy and Geno Smith, both quarterbacks have played outstanding in their own right, but we'll start with Brock Purdy. Right now, Seattle 12th overall against defending opposing quarterbacks. Purdy, 22 to 23 completions. I have him like around 310, 320 passing yards. He's going to throw for 2 touchdowns, and he's going to get 10 or 15 yards on the ground. One thing that I found, which is fantastic, it's fantastic. It's easily found, so I'm not saying anything nuts here. Brock Purdy's averaging around 275 passing yards a game, which is 5th in the NFL. And also, the Seattle Seahawks on the opposing end, they're only giving up 183 passing yards a game. So, it's immovable object meets a unstoppable force, something like that. And I know it's a little over dramatic. It's only week 6. But again, the NFC West is a nasty place to play given the talent that is there. When we look at Geno Smith, San Francisco 16th overall against opposing quarterbacks. Geno's 14.5 on FanDuel in comparison to Purdy's $1,300. So you can get Geno at 1,500 more if that's the route you want to go. Sure, 26 to 27 completions, 290 yards, 2 touchdown passes as well, and I'm thinking 4 to 5 carries for another 25 yards. When you look at Geno, he's averaging, he's attempting 39.8 passing attempts a game, almost 40 attempts a game with this guy's arm, and he's averaging 293.3 yards a game, which is good for, I believe, if I can read my small notes, that is at least top. Actually, I think that's first in all of football in terms of what Geno Smith is doing average wise in terms of passing attempts a game and passing yards a game. When we look at the running backs, this is where I personally think we should attack the slate, and that's with the San Francisco running backs, because Seattle, they're having an issue stopping the run, and they might figure it out at a later date, but as it stands Thursday night, let's attack this sucker with Kenneth Walker III, or Ken Walker Sr., however you want to put it, and Zach Charbonnet, who was fined a ton of money for something that wasn't even that crazy. But Kenneth Walker, San Francisco, 14th overall against opposing running backs. Walker, 14 to 15 15 carries, 70 yards, a touchdown on the ground is almost a sure thing, as a sure thing could be, and around 3 to 4 receptions for another 25 to 30 yards. What I love about KW3, I should say, at right now is they're pounding the football with him, rightfully so, but they're also getting him mixed in, within passing down work, and the kid's I should say, this man is catching passes as well. And when you look at his counterpart, Zach Charbonnet, 4 to 5 carries, 20 yards, plus 3 to 4 receptions for another 20 yards. So that 1-2 combo makes for an interesting kind of move, MVP captain, in terms of Kenneth Walker. When we look at the San Francisco side of things, it's all Jordan Mason, right? Given the fact that CMC is off in Eastern Europe and Germany, wherever he is, Australia, getting his, ankles and his knees looked at. But Jordan Mason right now, 15-5 on FanDuel, 10-2 on DK, 17 to 18 carries, 85 yards. He's a lock to find the end zone on the ground as well. 2 to 3 receptions, around 10 yards. So to me, Jordan Mason will be in full effect tonight. And last week you could say that Deebo Samuel and the young kid Isaac G, they took away some of his shine because they're getting some carries as well. We know Deebo Samuel was kind of swept under the rug last week. It was all about Ayuk and Kittle. But Jordan Mason, I think if San Francisco knows what's good for them, I don't. I'm just a schlub doing a video here. You would pound the ball with Jordan Mason while having Deebo and Ayuk out wide receiving the football or running routes, and we go from there. When we look at the wide receivers, Deebo, Brandon Ayuk, Jawan Jennings. I have an interesting theory about Jawan, and I'll get to him briefly. He had that one blow-up game a few weeks ago, and he hasn't done much since. And given the offense, given the talent of this offense, it makes sense. But I could see a case where Jawan is like 5th in the pecking order right now for the San Francisco offense, but given the fact that Seattle's the 7th best in the NFL in terms of passing yard, of giving up or lack thereof of passing yards, I could see a case where they pound the football with Jordan Mason, and then they funnel a lot of work. Seattle funnels a lot of work to Jawan Jennings because Deebo and Ayuk are 1-2, 1A, 1B, however you want to put it. So Jawan could get a little bit more work than expected in this one, and I don't want to be that guy, from the Metropolitan, or what is it, where Superman works, Clark Kent, or where Spider-Man works. Be that guy where you heard it here first. I'm not going to do that. Just an idea of Jawan being, bumped up the pecking order because, he kind of forced to in a way. But let's start with Deebo Samuel, Seattle, 10th overall against opposing wide receivers, 6-7 targets, 4 to 5 receptions, 80 yards, and a carry or 2 for another 10 yards. Ayuk right now, 5 to 6 receptions, 80 yards as well. And last week, Ayuk had one heck of a game. 8 catches on 12 targets for 147 yards. So, folks, you could say, well, I don't think if we rostered Brandon Ayuk, we'd be chasing points because he's good and he's, does everything that San Francisco expects of him. But to me, Ayuk and Samuel are options, not options. They're high-end options here tonight. But again, take what I say with a grain of salt about Jawan Jennings being kind of, they're funneling it to him. And right now, Jawan Jennings, 17.1 yards a reception. That's his average. And when we look at the Seattle wide receivers, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, the young kid Jackson Smith-Njigba. At what point, I don't want to be that, I just pick up little tidbits, when you're scrolling on social media and someone said, that tweet where, no, I'm going to, point A and nobody's ready for that conversation. Does DK Metcalf have a fumble problem? No, you're not ready for that discussion. He has 2 lost fumbles in back-to-back games. So what? He does enough on the field, to back that up. 8-9 targets, 5-6 receptions, around 80 yards. And DK's right now averaging 8 or more targets a game through the first few weeks of the season. So to me, he's averaging 15 yards a catch. You're getting around 8 targets a game. 5 or 6 you're going to catch. You lose a fumble, you're still come up in the green, and it's all good from there. He is $12,000 on FanDuel, a little high, but it's a single game slate. What else do we have out there? When you look at Tyler Lockett, JSN, Of the two, I said it earlier in the season. I think when on Monday Night Football, when the Lions hosted Seattle, that JSN has moved up the pecking order again. That's the word of the day for the video: pecking order this, pecking order that. Jackson Smith-Njigba, 7-8 targets, 5-6 receptions, looking at around 60 to 65 yards. When you get to Lockett, last week he played 84% of the offensive snaps, which was a nice little boost. And Lockett, he has it in him. Not much has changed. Just a year older, and with a high end athlete like that, that's no big deal. I have Tyler Lockett around 50 receiving yards, around 4 to 5 receptions. When we look at the tight ends, George Kittle, Noah Fant, A.J. Barner, whichever way you want to go. We all know Kittle has been fantastic to start the year. 3 straight games with a touchdown. Can he make it 4 tonight? I'll leave that for you to decide when you're building your lineup. Seattle right now, 19th overall against opposing tight ends. Kittle, 6-7 targets, 4 to 5 receptions. As I pick up my notes again, 70 yards. And again, when you look at George Kittle, he's averaging 7.3 targets a game and 56 receptions yards, which is good for 4th overall at tight end. So Kittle is he's done it before, but Kittle has become a set it and forget it guy. He's become a safety blanket, whatever other weird cliches we can get from there. When you look at Noah Fant or A.J. Barner, Frisco, 9th overall against tight ends. The 49ers have an outstanding group of coverage linebackers, a.k.a. Fred Warner. Not much to go there. A.J. Barner, 1 or 2 receptions, 10 yards. Noah Fant, 3 to 4 catches for 30 yards. When we transition to the defenses, before we do that, I'm going to toss it to Keith. We got together, Mr. Keith, at Mr. Keith Fleming. Let's see what he has to say about tonight's game. Keeping it to a short 2 to 3 minutes. Keith, what do you got, man?
What's up, everyone? Huge game tonight in San Francisco. Pivotal NFC West game between the Seattle Seahawks, San Francisco 49ers. This is a must-win game for San Francisco. The Niners would fall basically 2.5 games behind Seattle with a loss. So I think the Niners are going to get back to what they do, that is running the football with Kyle Shanahan as their head coach and the one scheming up their plays. That means Jordan Mason is the captain play. And I know that's no fun when it's the most expensive guy on the slate. He's $15,300 on DraftKings. But the bottom line is this is Seattle's weakness. And this is San Francisco's strength. Seattle, over their last 4 games, just getting absolutely torched by run, giving up 121 yards per game over their last 4 touchdowns in that span. You got to remember that Tracy last week for the Giants, backup running back, huge game, 18 carries, 129 yards. Just a few weeks ago, Antonio Gibson, Ramondre Stevenson, 32 carries, over 170 yards rushing. And the Niners have been a different team this season when Jordan Mason is the engine, and he really gets going. Very good in their wins, not so good in their losses. In the wins this year, Mason, 26 attempts per, averaging over 135 yards per game on the ground, a touchdown in each of those. In their losses, averaging just 17 carries per game and 88 yards per game on the ground. So I think the Niners are going to lean heavily into getting Jordan Mason back involved. I know it's disgusting. You got to take the most expensive guy, but he is by far the safest play and the one I am recommending this week. I think it's going to be a great game. Good luck to all of you out there. And back to my man, Chris.
Hey, that was fantastic. Keith, thank you for being here and recording that for us. We appreciate that. We'll see where we end up at the end of the night here. Lastly, before I get to the DSTs and kickers, make sure you get to the website, fantasy6pack.net. When you get there, tag me, and I'll get you the golden ticket if need be. The 49ers defense is in Seattle. Seattle's 23rd against opposing DSTs, and the Seattle Seahawks at home are 18th overall against opposing DSTs. 49ers, 3 to 4 sacks, an interception, a fumble recovery. Seattle, the only difference is the sack. You're going to get 1 or 2 less sacks for the Seahawks, but you're still going to get an interception and a fumble recovery. When we look at the kickers, Jake Moody, the kid from Michigan, is not playing. He's inactive, and it looks like San Francisco signed Matthew Wright on Tuesday. He's decent. He's a decent play at kicker if you think San Francisco spends a ton of time in Seattle's territory. And Jason Myers, 8-5 on FanDuel, $5,000 on DK. That's the move I would make. 3 for 3 extra points. I think you're going to get an extra field goal or 2 out of him. over right. I have this final score being the San Francisco's win a tight one, 31-28. So the over hits, and I said, there's a difference of 4 points, which that 1 point, that extra point that's missed, and comes down to some sort of field goal here. Recent betting trends: San Francisco 2-7 against the spread their last 9 games. Seattle 1-5-1 against the spread their last 7 games. And these two are fantastic. I told you I like the over 49. Here's why. The over has hit in 5 of San Francisco's last 7 games, and the over has hit in 4 of Seattle's last 5 games. And lastly, San Francisco 5-0 straight up against Seattle. They have their number. Same thing was said about Seattle when they were here in Detroit Monday Night Football, and the whole thing was changed. So can Seattle, get one over on San Francisco? Anything is possible. This is going to be a fantastic game on Thursday night. Don't stay up too late. Be good, be safe, and I will see you again soon tomorrow when Bottom of the Barrel drops. San Francisco wins this one, 31-28 in an over kind of game. Bye-bye.